Hello, my name is Oskar and this is Retro Gaming Swede. And today I show you everything you need to start a Mega Drive or Genesis collection. I'll also show you the first 5 games you should get for the system. So we'll start off with the most important thing, the console itself. There's mostly 2 variants to these, the Mega Drive 1 and the Mega Drive 2. There's not much difference to these, they just use different cables and the second one is a bit smaller. Both versions are compatible with all the crazy add-ons Sega released, so that's not a problem. For the consoles, you'll need some cables to hook them up to a TV and feed them power. The power adapter is one of these big black chunky things. And for the best picture, you should get one of these. Composite video cable. It's much better than the old RF standard, and nowadays it's hard to find a TV that can take the analog RF signal. There are companies that make Mega Drive cables for newer TVs, but I don't have one, so I can't show you. Because as you can see, I'm sort of a TV hoarder. So I have a bunch of CRTs to hook them up with. Now that we're done with that, we'll take a look at the controller. This is the standard 3-button Mega Drive controller. It works absolutely fine. But if you're going to play any fighting games or stuff like that, you should absolutely invest in one of these. The 6-button controller. This is absolutely amazing. So good that the Saturn actually launched with a controller just like it. So if you're going to play Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat down the line, you should absolutely invest in one of those. So now we have everything to start collecting for Mega Drive. Except for one thing, the games. Well, here we go. The first game is the game you probably got together with your console, or well, it's pretty cheap to get, but it's an amazing game with the fastest little mammal in the world. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, it's Sonic. The game that made the Mega Drive and Sega the powerhouse it was. But you might say, isn't Sonic supposed to be super fast? This game looks like it's played in slow motion. Almost as slow as an overweight plumber. Yes, if you've only played the American version, that's something you might say. This is the PAL version of the game, so it moves 17% slower. Here's a quick comparison. Why didn't they optimize their flagship game to the European standard? I don't know. That's Sega for you, I guess. Sometimes they do the best stuff ever made, sometimes they just don't care. Anyway, this is the crap we had to deal with in Europe. But it's still Sonic. Everyone knows about it, and most people have probably played it once or twice. Whether you're playing the PAL version or the NTSC version. The game is still absolutely awesome. The next game is a Disney game, made by the same guy who made the awesome Earthworm Jim games, with another blue guy in the leading role. Here's the marvel that is Disney's Aladdin. Based on one of the best Disney movies ever. This game looks absolutely amazing. The graphics is almost cartoon-worthy, the animations look great and all the music from the movie is there. You start off in Agrabah and try to get out of town to find the lamp. Your main attack is throwing apples at your enemies or cutting them with a sword. The controls are really solid and it's really fun to make the enemies drop their pants when attacking. There's also a whole lot of synthesized speech coming from the enemies, which is kinda cool. There's a ton of nods to other Disney franchises in here. In the desert you'll encounter Sir Hiss from Robin Hood, and in the dungeons you see Sebastian from The Little Mermaid tied to the wall and a skeleton lying on the floor with Mickey Mouse ears. That's pretty amazing that Disney let them do that. Whatever you do, don't confuse this game with the far inferior Super Nintendo game made by Capcom. That game is good, but this game is a masterpiece. It can be deceptively hard until you get to grips with the controls, but once you've started this, you just can't stop. The next one is a real special one. Nowadays there's compilations of everything. That wasn't so common back in the day. This is Megagames 6. 6 games for the price of 1. That's amazing. So yeah, as I said, this is a compilation of games called Megagames 6. Don't confuse this with the volumes 2 and 3. If you're gonna get one, the first one is the best. As usual, we'll start off from the worst game and work our way to the best. The absolute worst game on this cart is World Cup Italia 1990. First of all, why did Sega put this piece of shit on the cart? Second, why can't I select Sweden? I did some research and they were in this tournament. Third, why the flying horse crotch do I care? I will never play this crap again. It's almost impossible to hold the ball long enough to get a chance to score. When the opponents get close to the goal, the controls shift automatically to a goalkeeper, meaning that they almost always get a point. The controls are awkward and the game lasts for an age. Skip this! The next game is Super Hang-On. The sequel to the built-in game on your Master System that starts when your inserted cartridge refuses to boot. It's not a bad game per se. It's a checkpoint racer just like Outrun and the Lotus games, and the crashes look spectacular. The controls are fine and the sound and music is alright. Until you start the so-called original mode. This is the campaign mode of the game and it just sucks so bad. The controls feels like they don't react to where you're steering and everything moves in slow motion. The campaign mode is shit. The arcade mode, however, can be quite fun. The game looks great and it feels fast and pretty responsive. Now we move on to Columns, or Sega's take on the Tetris puzzle game that was all the rage in the early 90s. However, I absolutely suck at these games, so here's my girlfriend playing some Columns. It's just a classic Connect 3 puzzle game that works exactly like you think it would. It's a solid puzzle game if you like that kind of stuff. I just don't. It feels like it gets too fast too quickly, making the game super hard. The next game on there is Revenge of Shinobi, a real Sega arcade classic. It might look slow and easy, but that's just your eyes deceiving you. This game is hard as hell. The first level has you walking through a ninja village filled with a ton of enemies that just longs to kill you. Once you've gotten out of there, you get a boss fight that lasts forever, and the next stage is a waterfall stage. And that is as long as I've gotten in this game. As I said, this game is hard. But fun if you're not the kind of guy that gets easily frustrated and rage quits single player games. Now the next game is one of the best games Sega ever made. Golden Axe! It looks like your run-of-the-mill beat 'em up, but this is an absolute classic. One of the games that made beat 'em ups one of the most successful genres of the late 80s and early 90s. You have 3 characters to choose from, and yes, not choosing the dwarf is a crime punishable by death. It's also kinda cool that you can ride on different creatures that all have their own abilities and strengths. You can also pick up power-ups during and between the levels to let you use the super mega attack. If you have friends, this game is a must-play for some awesome co-op action. It's just too bad it was entirely overshadowed by the next game and its sequels. Yeah! Here we have maybe the most essential and iconic game for the Sega Mega Drive. Streets of Rage! The best beat-em-up game for a home console of its time. If you're just looking to play one Mega Drive game ever, this is it. Of course, leading to 2 sequels. This is a piece of gaming history. The game plays like a dream and still holds up well to this day. With its gritty story about a bunch of cops hitting the streets, taking on a criminal organization with their fists. The characters look great, the enemies are imaginative, and the graphics are gorgeous and colorful, with neon lights everywhere. This is also a must play if you have some friends over. Oh, and it also has one of my favorite screen clearing attacks of all time. The police car with a bazooka! So, if you want to show something off to your Nintendo friends, this is the game that kicks Final Fight's ass any day of the week. Warning, 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 warning. It seems someone has started a game of Golden Axe without selecting the dwarf. There's only one way to rectify that. Liking and subscribing to this video is the only way for the obligatory death penalty to be forgotten. Okay. So after all that adrenaline and fighting, maybe you just want to calm down a bit. Maybe use your brain more than your reflexes. And throw in some good RPG elements for good measure. Shining Force. This is an old favorite of mine, and even though it stands in the shadow of the Phantasy Star series, I do believe this is a game that should be played. It can also be found on eBay for a pretty reasonable price, which is sort of important for this video, since I do want to showcase that retro game collecting doesn't have to cost too much. Anyway, this is a tactical RPG in the style of games like Fire Emblem. Unlike Nintendo, Sega actually believed in us Europeans, so they actually released their top games over here. I'm looking at you, Super Mario RPG. It looks great, plays really good and sounds amazing. It can be pretty challenging, but a nice thing is that even if you lose a fight, you get to keep your experience and levels and can just try again, giving you a sort of second chance and makes the game highly playable for people not that used to these kinds of games. Everyone in your army is a unique character, making you feel for every unit in your army and that every fight matters. Between fights, you get a chance to explore your surroundings, recruit new people for your army, stock up on items, weapons and finding treasure. Even though this is overshadowed by bigger franchises, this is an absolute must-play for the Mega Drive. So, what do we have for the last game? What genre of games was popular in the 90s but isn't on this list? Take a guess. Anyone? Fighting, of course! And what's better to showcase the Mega Drive than the biggest, bloodiest, brutalest game on the system? Mortal Kombat 2. Ooh, the blood! If it was something the Mega Drive did better than the competition, it was great marketing. Almost single-handedly responsible for the PEGI and ESRB markings on games, with a little help from Night Trap, Mortal Kombat made fighting games cool in a way Street Fighter couldn't. With brutal attacks and bloody fatalities, the first game made the sales chart. The second game makes all of that, but bigger, better, and with more variation. There's more characters, more fatalities, more special moves, and more blood. If you like fighting games, this is the game you should have for your Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. I know a lot of people swear by the Super Nintendo port, but the Mega Drive has a secret power-up that the Super Nintendo doesn't. The Sega 6-button controller. A controller so good it more or less survived for 2 console generations, and it's an absolute necessity to have one of these if you want to play any fighting game on the Sega Mega Drive. So that seems like it's all for today. What's your favorite Sega Mega Drive game? Do you want a game showcased on the channel? Tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you're really awesome, share this with your friends or maybe enemies if you really don't like me. And I'll hopefully see you again next time. Have a good day. Fight.